Hey, what up guys, it's ThePowerUpMushroom coming to you with the video. Now, for people who are wondering, my thumb is fine, it's right here. I mean, I tweeted about it, but I got a few messages. Yeah, I cut the tip off my thumb with a knife. I mean, that's what you get when you're a cook at a casino. But don't worry, it's fine. I didn't go to the hospital because I don't feel like it. I just decided to bandage it up. It did take a few hours, like I think like 3 or 4 hours for the bleeding to stop. But here it is. I mean, I'm totally fine, don't worry, I'm good. If it starts bleeding again, then probably I'll go get stitches or something, but I just held the skin together. But anyways, enough of that. You know why you're here. This is a video for video game collecting tips. The tips of video game collecting. I mean, there's a lot of tips. You can get tips from many other people, but I just kind of thought I'd put my input in on this because, like, legit, video game collecting, it's hard today. There's so many things that can go wrong. There's so many things that, like, you could be going somewhere and then someone cancels, like, wanting to give you a game, or you could go to yard sales and people look it up on their phones and they're like, oh, these are worth like thousands of dollars. And I mean, sometimes people ask me, like, how do you do video game collecting? And, you know, you're still doing, like, how are you doing that? And it's just like, well, I just go and do it. I mean, I set a couple days of the month and I'm going to show you some tips, or I'm going to tell you about some tips that I use that you know, it helps me with collecting video games and how I get to grow my collection little by little. I don't go and collect like bunch, but I do go and pick up games, or I search for other games, you know, trying to complete the collections. And I mean, one of the first things that I could recommend that you do is that first you got to download a couple apps. One of the very, like, you have the apps, and like the phone is probably your best friend. So I mean, everyone has a smartphone, but use it. Not a lot of people use the phone, like, that I've talked to. I mean, for video game collecting veterans, you guys know what I'm talking about. So some of these tips y'all already gonna know, but these are kind of for, tips are kind of for people who are just getting into video game collecting. So here you go. So use your phone. I like using things like Amazon and Craigslist. eBay is fine, but sometimes I just don't trust the people on eBay, and there's been a couple of times where, like, things have gone wrong. So I stick to Craigslist and Amazon. Amazon, mostly I use Amazon for, I always put things on my wish list. So use that, because when you add things to your wish list, sometimes things will pop up, like, on Amazon, and you can get really good deals on certain games you're collecting. For a specifically retro video games, if you go into like those third-party sellers, you can always see retro video games. Like if you're looking for NES games or Super Nintendo games, even like some Master System games, you can find them for dirt cheap, for like some like $1 to like $2.67, and you just pay the shipping and handling. So I guess around, like, each game would be around like $5 if you really pay the shipping and handling and stuff. But I mean, for those games that you're kind of looking for and you really want to collect for, or like you're looking for a specific Mega Man game or something like that. Granted, Mega Man games aren't cheap, but you know what I mean. If you're going for a specific collection of a certain game, Amazon is definitely one of those places where I just kind of pick each part and add them to my wish list, and I'll get an email when, you know, things come in, you know, and I'll just go and like check them, and, you know, I'll put them in a bundle and then like order them for like $50 or something, and I'll get a bunch of games delivered right to my doorstep. I don't have to do anything. So use Amazon. Another thing that I would like I said, Craigslist, is that on Craigslist now you're seeing a lot of video game hauls. This goes with eBay too. And sometimes I mean, me personally, I don't recommend doing video game hauls anymore, depending on what games are in there. If you get a seller that's like, he's selling games, or he or she is selling games, but like a bunch of them, but they don't know what they're worth, and they're just selling them for like $50 for like 100 or something, go ahead and take advantage of that. And if you see, you know, you have to pick out the games, you have to pick your hauls real good, because sometimes hauls, they'll have like a, you know, a wide screenshot of the games, but then you'll look closely and you'll notice that they're all sports titles, and really sports games, really they're not valuable. I mean, unless in the sometime near future where someone's like, hey, Brett Favre was on the cover of Madden 2009, let's get that version and let's bump it up a couple $100 because it's super valuable. I mean, I don't see it happening in the future anytime soon, but if it does, for those people who are collecting sports video game titles, you guys are about to be rich if that ever happens in the future. Just saying. Now, come to think of it, I think the Brett Favre cover for 2009 probably will be some value this, like, someday. He retired. Watch out for that, guys. For some reason, I'm gonna jinx it, but no. But always look at those hauls and make sure that those games, You know, there's a lot of good games in there. If there's a bunch of sports game, but then they have that one game that's in there that's like that's the main prize you want. Let's just say like it's a Zelda game or a Chrono Trigger or something for the Super Nintendo, or let's just say let's go as far like there's some Game Gear games in there that you want to really get. See if you can like bargain with the buyer. Bargaining is also another tool you can use. Is your speech, how good you are with people. Because if you create these relationships with people, sometimes they'll give you deals in the future. But try to bargain with these sellers. Try to say, hey, I know you're selling this haul for like $100, but I really want that Zelda game, or I really want that Metroid. Would you mind selling it to me for like 25 or 40 or something? You know, bargain. What is your price range? You know, give them like, you know, give them some space to kind of like bargain with you, and eventually get it down to a really good deal. Specifically if it's easier in like Craigslist. I know it's like real local. If it's easier to get to them through Craigslist and you don't see yourself spending a lot of money, go ahead and do that, because it's way easier. Also, when you're on Craigslist, be sure to bring somebody with you, or do it in a public place when you're doing the deal, because there's been quite a bit of like killings, shootings, or injuries with people. I don't recommend going to people's houses. I'm just saying, meet in a mall or something. Even in public places it can be dangerous, but it's better to be seen doing a deal than it is to be like doing it behind a black alley. I'm just saying, do that please. I don't want you guys like getting hurt or anything, but remember to bargain with people. Also, kind of set what I do with my time. I set myself like a schedule during the month. I'll pick out like 2 days. So I'll pick out like a Saturday and I don't know, maybe a Friday, because those are times when yard sales are happening. Yard sales are getting started on a Friday or Saturday, and I go out and look for yard sales. And sometimes when you go to yard sales, people don't have a lot of things, but you can always ask people when you're at out places or something. Ask them, like, would you happen to have any retro video games, or do you have any video games that you're willing to sell when you're yard selling, or even when you're at thrift stores, because thrift stores like Goodwill and stuff like that. I mean, Goodwill, I mean, yeah, it's a donation store, but like thrift stores or the flea market or something, you can find a lot of good things there, even like retro game dealers, and you can create relationships with these dealers, and you can actually get some really good prices, specifically if you're looking out for each other, you know. But always ask, because sometimes they might not have them out in front if you're in a yard sale, and these people, they'll bring out a bunch of games and they'll probably just sell it to you for maybe like $25. That's something would happen with like one of my PlayStation that I got recently. I wanted an old school PlayStation because I had the PS1 Slim. I didn't have the original PSX, but I wanted the PlayStation, and like, you know, the big giant box one. And this guy, I just asked him like, hey, you got any video games or anything? He's like, yeah, I have an old PlayStation. He brought it out with a bunch of games, and he sold it to me for like $20 with a bunch of games. And it's just like, all right, cool. You know, I'm not complaining. He gave it to me. Things like that can happen, and it's really rare nowadays because people use their smartphones and go for like the highest price thing. I mean, always look out and use your mouth, your speech. Use your speech to kind of bring down prices. And like I said, always ask. Another thing I mentioned earlier was like creating relationships with people, and it's get together with collectors. There's a lot of places in Vegas where, you know, there's like some gaming stores or anything. Get to know some people. You see somebody looking at a gaming rack, and just go and talk to them and be like, hey, well, you know, what are you looking for or something, you know. Create that relationship with the person, and maybe you'll meet a video game collector, or maybe some stores around your area that, you know, they're really good retail stores, like retro video game stores. And I do that. I have a couple of good relationships with some game owners in Vegas, and they always look out for me. Like, that's how I got my Earthbound. That's how I've gotten my Lunar series. I've gotten the Breath of Fire games that way. And, you know, I'm always telling, hey, like, if you ever come across this game, can you look out for this, or like this? I'll be willing to pay you. And they'll say yeah, or sometimes they'll cut me deals on things. It's just a matter of creating connections with people in, you know, like media, or like just different stores around the city or wherever you live. Granted, some stores are going to be really cheap people and they want to get the most money out of you, so try to stay away from them or try to bargain with them. Those are people that I don't really stay connected with. But for people that I help out, and saying like, I found a Guilty Gear game, and, you know, this guy really wanted it for the PlayStation, and I was just like, here, you know, PlayStation 3, by the way. It was a limited edition, collector's edition for the Guilty Gear series, and he really wanted it. In exchange, I got something from the Final Fantasy series, and it's just like, you know, you help each other out that way. So if you're always looking out and you see something, you know, talk to people. Make sure you tell people that you're collecting video games and all that, because it might come in handy one day. Somebody might run across video games and they might, you know, hold on to those games saying, hey, I know that so-and-so really likes it, or I heard that Mushroom's collecting this. I'm going to go ahead and pick this up from Mushroom. And you get it from Mushroom, and the Mushroom's like, hey, you know, that's awesome. Here you go, Mushroom. And I'm Mushroom, by the way. But you know what I mean. They'll look out for, gaming collectors, we look out for each other, and that's how it works. Also, looking on YouTube, that's also another way, is going, like, finding smaller gaming collecting channels. I've met quite a few people. You know, you can trade over, you know, email each other, or like mail each other like some games that they've been looking for or something, because sometimes there's some games that might be hard to find, but you find them like in places like Texas, but you know, maybe people can't find a certain game in Texas and I find it over here, and you know, you kind of email each other, say, hey, I got this game, let's trade. Things like that can happen. It's happened. I've done it. It's freaking awesome, because you, like I said, you're creating connections with people, and it's a way to make your collection grow. If that's what you're looking to do, it's a great way to watch your collection grow over time. So always remember to tell people that you're collecting video games, and remember to, like, kind of like I said, look out for each other, because it helps in the long run. Also, make sure that you join like gaming communities, like I said, YouTube. You also have gaming channels. You have Facebook pages. Join places like that, because like I said, it's another way to meet people. But like on media, if you're letting people know that you collect video games, like I said, you could also get those people that come across rare games, or like some games that they think that you might want, and maybe some games that you don't have. Remember to always go on there and like always look out for, like I said, it all comes down to looking out for each other and like letting know you guys collect video games. But like I said, create relationships is like probably one of the bigger things. That's why I'm emphasizing on it a lot, because creating relationships with people, it's really helped me a lot in like collecting all these video games, because I really wouldn't have all the games if I didn't tell people I was collecting video games. So that's how it's helped me out, is by just talking to people and everything. Also, take advantage of sales. Granted, I know GameStop is probably not one of the bigger things that, like, not many retro video game collectors are too fond of GameStop, but GameStop has helped me in a while, because I have a couple stores in Vegas where I go to GameStops, but these people know who I am, and they keep some games on the side, specifically DS cases. Like, you know, they usually throw out a bunch of cases or video games, but they'll keep those on the side for me, or they'll throw away like these big posters, and they'll give them to me. These GameStop people, like, they're one of the best GameStop employees like I've ever met, because they actually run GameStop how I think it should be run. But maybe that's for another time. But I always go to GameStop and take advantage of those buy 2 for 1 sales. You know, like you buy 2 pre-owned games, you get 1 for free. Because sometimes for the PlayStation Vita, I mean, it doesn't get a lot of love, but the games are freaking expensive. But when you get the pre-owned thing, you can get 2 Vita games and then get 1 for free. Or you can get maybe some old PlayStation 3 games, and you can start collecting for that system. It's a really great way, because you buy 2 games, but you're going to get 1 free, so there you go. Also, I can't emphasize more on this enough, but pick a system. Pick a system you want to collect for. I know you want to collect for like all the games in the world, or you want to collect like all the consoles and everything. That's good, but try to focus on that one thing that you really want to collect for. Like me right now, I'm kind of collecting for the Dreamcast, and I'm collecting for the PlayStation 3. I want a full PlayStation 3 collection, so I'm focusing more on PlayStation titles and, you know, something along those lines. So I'm always looking for deals on those, but I know what I'm looking for. So I'm always keeping track of, like, hey, this is going on sale, so I'm going to go after that. Or there's more Dreamcast games at this game store. I'm going to go and check out these things, see if there's anything I can get. It's just knowing what you're collecting for and focus on that. Because if you just have a whole collection of just random things, I mean, I guess that's good. But, I mean, you kind of want to have collecting your video games, I guess, for me, I'm looking for, like, completion. I mean, and, you know, a sense of accomplishment. I mean, look, I started doing the PlayStation 4, and look, I'm happy with my collection right here. Also, I have some downloadable games, and I have some over there, but it's like I focused on the PlayStation 4 for a while, and I'm happy that I got deals on the PlayStation 4. Also, you know, the Xbox, I mean, granted, there's not a lot of games on the Xbox. I mean, there is, but, I mean, I was able to discover some new titles through there, and also, like, taking advantage of some sales on the Xbox store. But just looking out for those games and those sales that, you know, it might help you out. And like I said, focusing on one system is probably the better way. Like I said, I'm focusing on a couple, like 2 systems, but for the most part, I'm really focused on like looking for games for the PlayStation 3 and the Dreamcast, because it really helps build the collection and makes my collection, you know, it helps makes me feel more complete when I'm collecting for the Dreamcast. I'm just saying, because there's a lot of rare games on the Dreamcast, but when I find those games and they're for a really good price, there you go, you know. Also, I would recommend making a list. You have your phone, go on your notes, make a list of games that you want. Sometimes when you're looking at games on YouTube or something and you're trying to get that broader, like, you know, that broader picture of video games that like are rare, or video games that you never heard of, because I mean that's also part of why I collect. I want to play games that I've never heard of, is creating a list. If you go on YouTube and just look for like unknown video games from this system or unknown video games from that, or great underrated games, it can really come in handy, because you can write these games down in your notes on your phone or something, and you can be sure to look out for those games and do a little study on those games, what those games are about, to see if you're going to enjoy it. And it's really important that, you know, like you make those lists, because you never know, you might be in a store or a buyback store and you could have, you know, you could be looking at a gem right in front of you that's for a decent price and you not even know. I mean, or maybe like there's a game that you're looking for, but I mean, you want a specific game, but you don't know what it is, and you just want an unknown game, and it could be right there in front of you. But I mean, always do your research. Look at different games, underrated games. There are a lot of underrated games out there. Hence, I'm gonna just bring this out because I mentioned in one of my last videos, Rising Zan the Samurai Gunman. Just saying, look out for that title, because I really would like PlayStation to kind of take it up again. But anyways, but yeah, look out for those things. Create notes and just go out there. One of my last things I can say, like, I mean, I'm gonna have more tips for you guys in the future, but this is kind of like just getting you guys to start video game collecting for people who want to start collecting. Make sure you take all these tips in consideration. There are a bunch of other videos that probably do videos better than me on how to do tips, which I'm pretty sure there's a bunch out there. So go ahead and look for those and kind of combine all these tips and make your own tip video, or like just create a list of these tips. But my last tip is just go out there and have fun. This is not something that you need. I mean, for people, I mean, a lot of collectors, I guess for them it's an investment. For me, it's about having fun and enjoying these games for what they are. I like to appreciate the games that come out in the past and everything, and I like to play them. I don't let them sit on my shelf. I play every game that I get. But go out there and have fun with these games. Get some friends together if you have like collecting friends, or get together with like some collectors. Do some YouTube videos. Talk about some games on your channel. I mean, there's some games that you probably never even heard of, or maybe some games that you've heard of but no one else has ever heard of. Go and talk about those games, because when it comes down to collecting, you want to share that collection with, you know, like other people. You want people to know, like, hey, you know, check out this game. I found this really cool game. It's just go out there and have fun collecting these games. It's going to be frustrating, yes, because today a lot of people use their phones and like really bargain with prices and stuff. It's really hard to do that. But when you find those, I mean, it's really hard to bargain with those kind of people. But when you find these games out in the wild, the sense of accomplishment and like everything, it's just like, it feels good that you found these games out in the middle of nowhere. So I can't help but just tell you that have fun with it. Go out there, find some games, set a couple of times, like a couple of days out of the month to go and look for these games, because it could really, I mean, like I said, back then video games were like NES games were like 50 cents or something, and that was really cool to collect games back then. But now it's getting really hard, because some will be like $50, $60, some like $200, which is crazy. But when you find those games out like at a Goodwill or a thrift store and it's like 25 cents and it's a really rare game, the feeling is probably one of the best feelings in the world, because you just feel like you just hit the jackpot. But although when you do find that, don't show that expression of like, oh, I found something on your face, because then people will see it and or the seller will see it and they'll be like, all right, I'm gonna look this up, and he's gonna charge you, you know, the actual price for it. So try to keep calm when you're collecting these video games. That is my last tip. And have fun. Have fun with it, guys. But anyways, guys, remember to go out there, you know, have fun with it, collect your video games, and hey, do some videos. Like, if you have videos, share it in the comments section. Just let me know that, hey, I do gaming videos, I do this, check out this game or something, because I like checking out old games or something. Maybe recommendations would be pretty cool. But anyways, I just kind of want to do this last part section as just an update for my channel. I am looking into getting a new camera, guys. It's probably going to be a month. I'm going to get a better camera with better, like, you can already see the lighting is getting better for my channel. So I'm working on the lighting. So I got the lighting set up. I'm just going to get a better camera, and I'm going to get a better laptop. So it'll probably be a month, but in a month you're going to see huge change towards my videos and how like it's formatted and everything. Don't worry, it's nothing that bad. It's nothing big, but I am getting editing software and all that stuff, because I kind of want to push my channel. And don't worry, like, I know I've been a little absent this past week or whatever, but hey, I messed up my thumb. I got, you know, works caught up, but I mean, I'm gonna keep on doing videos, so don't worry, guys. I'm not going anywhere. But hopefully in a month, I am gonna speed up production, and I'm gonna push this channel to whatever mountains you climb in Skyrim, like that high. But anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. And remember, guys, if you're watching on Vidme, like, upvote, you know. I have all my links down in the description below. Twitter, Facebook. I need to create a Facebook thing. I'll do that eventually. But remember, guys, when you guys are gaming, power up.